So there is a threefold awakening sequence with the key years being 1987, 2012, and 2027. This is coming from the 55th gene key, which the entirety of the 64 gene keys is this beautiful work. It's a storytelling of our spiritual awakening and moving from shadow to gift to the siddhi. The siddhi is the furthest evolved consciousness state that a human could ever tap into while still incarnated on this physical plane of Earth. So it is predicted by the human design system and the gene keys system that by 2027, we're going to make that massive leap into a higher frequency of consciousness. And that's where we will remain permanently. So it is this massive collective consciousness leap out of shadow consciousness into gift consciousness. So let's start with 1987. This is known as the Harmonic Convergence. And in 1987, there was a supernova in a neighboring galaxy that created unprecedented celestial alignments. And those permanently altered humans' brain chemistry here on Earth because of this supernova in a neighboring galaxy. And it's believed in the gene key system and also just in my own intuitive beliefs that supernovas are actually when a human reaches Siddhic consciousness, that blast of high frequency sets off ripples in the entirety of the cosmos that create supernovas. I believe that we are all stars. And when there is a supernova, it's actually a human reaching Siddhic consciousness. And it takes one human making the leap from the gift into the Siddhic consciousness allows for hundreds of thousands of people to then make the leap from shadow into gift, and vice versa. As more people move from shadow into gift, it then allows more people to then be able to make that jump from gift into siddhi. Okay, so in 1987, boom, supernova in a neighboring galaxy creates unprecedented celestial alignments, which permanently alters human brain chemistry, which is now known as the age of synthesis, because it finally allowed people to see the unifying truth of all of the great teachings of the ages and a synthesis of all of the religions and ancient texts, where now it was this fusion, this synthesis of East and West, left and right hemispheres of the brain, religion and science. There is this interweaving. And in 1987, we also have the birth of the human design system, which the gene keys are based in the human design system. So there was a man who changed his name to Ra Uru Hu, and in 1987, he channeled all of this information over the course of like 7 to 10 days or something like that, where he was given all of these downloads of all of these ancient teachings, like the Chinese I Ching, one of the oldest books on the planet, the Kabbalah, quantum physics, biochemistry, genetics, the Hindu chakra system, and he was able to weave them all together and create the system of human design. So that's what we get in 1987 as a result of the age of synthesis, which is known as the harmonic convergence. And much has been said about the harmonic convergence. If any, some of my followers were actually in their 20s during 1987 in the harmonic convergence, and I get messages from them saying that it was a crazy year. There were so many spiritual awakenings in 1987, and we get so many profound systems and books from 1987. So 1987 is a harmonic convergence, and then these are three distinct dates of vibratory awakening on our planet. So all vibrational life on our planet is going through this threefold awakening sequence starting in 1987, age of synthesis. And this is still carrying on until today. It's a distinct marker, a distinct date, but this is still having ripples into now. So 1987, age of synthesis, harmonic convergence. Then we have 2012, which, so much has been said about 2012. And this is known as the Melodic Resonance. So now in 2012, according to the gene keys, we see this split in humanity, where you're either a part of moving the dream into form, or your DNA is locked out of the story. And essentially, two distinct realities were split off in 2012. So basically, if you are a nefarious human with a dark, evil agenda, and if you believe that you're separate from source and separate from every single human and everything in life, then your DNA is split off into this one path that is no longer a part of our collective spiritual awakening and our human evolutionary story. And then the rest of us are on this now second path of the threefold awakening of moving the dream into form. And the dream is that all of us remember oneness, that we have our collective awakening, that we return to the Garden of Eden, and that we get to enjoy life and humanity and live vibrant, healthy, abundant lives, remembering oneness, remembering unity. That is the dream, which we are all collectively working towards in our spiritual evolutionary unfolding, is to remember the dream and have a golden age here on earth. So in 2012, there was this distinct split, and everything, it's believed according to the gene keys that everything is sort of locked in by 2012. And this is the early stages of the reawakening of the solar plexus. And it's believed that since 2012, there's been a core fractal of humanity that is laying the foundations of this reawakening of the solar plexus, of this threefold awakening, by doing the work, changing the world from the inside out. And so there's a core fractal of humanity that's been awakening since 2012 that has been amplified, and now it's exponentially been growing since then, because like I said, if there's multiple people making the leap from shadow into gift, it then allows more people all across the planet to make that leap as well. And then eventually make that leap into Siddhic consciousness, which is the furthest evolved state you could hold while still being incarnated on the physical plane of Earth, which is where we're headed. And that's where the ego completely dissolves. You just dissolve back into oneness, essentially, while holding such a high vibration for humanity and for the planet that allows us to shift into that golden age. And for some of us, that is within your life path here on Earth this time around in this incarnation. You may be a part of this core awakening fractal that reaches Siddhic consciousness. And for most people, though, for many people, you'll be a part of the fractal of humanity that makes that leap from shadow into gift and holds it down for the rest of, for Mother Nature, for Mama Gaia to make that shift as well. We are not separate from Earth. We are the eyes and the mind of Earth. And as we are making this massive leap in our consciousness, Earth herself is being raised into a higher vibrational alignment as well. So 2012, this is the early stages of the reawakening of the solar plexus. And so it's predicted by the human design system that in 2027, we're going to have a reawakening of the solar plexus. And there's going to be a genetic sweep, a genetic mutation that sweeps through the solar plexus center of humanity. And this is where we permanently make the leap out of the lowest two chakras into the solar plexus center, which is the third chakra. It's the fire in your belly. It's the seat of your soul. It's the sunshine of your personality, of yourself. And this is where you can exist in a higher plane permanently, because humanity has been trapped in shadow consciousness. Humanity's been trapped in the lowest two chakras for thousands of years. The root chakra being ruled by fear, and the sacral chakra is ruled by satisfying your senses, lust, distraction, eating, sleeping, and just living a life of addiction. And by us making that leap and having this genetic mutation sweep through the solar plexus center, we're going to now make that permanent leap. And the reawakening of the solar plexus is going to be this blossoming, and it's called a return of Edenic awareness or Atlantean awareness. Much has been said about the Atlanteans, but it is believed that this golden age of Atlantis was an ancient, advanced global civilization that lived from their solar plexus as opposed to the mind, which is what our current society has been living from. We live from our minds, we're trapped in our minds instead of living from the body. The body holds all of the true intelligence of what it means to be a human being. And the solar plexus is the home of our emotions. And our emotions are our greatest superpower. And we're finally going to learn how to use our emotions and not let our emotions use us, which has been exactly what's been going on for the past thousands of years. We're finally going to have this advanced awareness of how to utilize the solar plexus properly, like how the ancient Atlanteans did. And like I said, the ancient Atlanteans were a global civilization. That's why all of the pyramids on Earth, from every corner of the earth, they were all built in similar structures, pointing to celestial alignments. But these civilizations were supposed to have no contact with one another thousands of years ago. We know now that this was an ancient, advanced global civilization living from their body, and they had reached heightened awareness. That was the last golden age on Earth. So we are returning to this Edenic awareness where it's going to be a return of the Garden of Eden on Earth. It's going to be this Atlantean awareness where we're living from our bodies, because the sheer voltage of your emotions far outweigh the subtle cognitive processes of reason which emanate from the cranial brain. So particularly at your emotional extremes, emotional highs and emotional lows. So we're going to learn how to utilize your emotional lows as fuel for alchemical transformations. So if you're on a spiritual path, if you are having this shift in your awareness now, which most of us are by now, even if you're not spiritual, there's been this massive shift to the average person. I don't know why I'm doing so many air quotes today. But there is this massive shift where now people are coming to realize that there is this, I lost my train of thought. So we're going to learn how to use the solar plexus. This is the reawakening of the solar plexus center. And so you're utilizing the emotional lows for alchemical transformation. And that is exactly what the hero's journey is. It's utilizing your emotional lows as fuel to then catapult you into your next timeline, into the next doorway that's opening for you, and into higher awareness. It's actually in your deepest, darkest shadows that your true gift lies. And that is what the teachings of the Gene Keys is. It is truly a map of the 64 shadow archetypes that exist within each and every one of us. And these are timeless. These are timeless teachings. It's based in the Chinese I Ching, which is one of the oldest books on the planet. It's thousands of years old. And these same themes and archetypes that existed thousands of years ago exist today, because we are all one. The human story is this beautiful three-part story of the hero facing adversity, going on a journey of discovery, and then having a victorious end. That is what every great story, every great movie is based on, this three-part story. And that is what humanity's story is all about as well. We're facing adversity, you go on a journey of self-discovery, and then you have a victorious ending. So right now we are all collectively in this journey of self-discovery, and the adversity is the fact that we are born into a world that is ruled by shadow consciousness. And it's up to you to transmute your shadows into your gifts. And so the greatest place to start is your greatest shadows. It's your fears, it's your addictions, it's your distractions. It is your inability to move forward, your anger, your inability to remove victim consciousness, forgive yourself, forgive others, and understand truly the reawakening of the solar plexus is an end of victim consciousness, truly. And all of us need to understand that we are born into this world, into your family, into your society, into your community for a reason. And it's written in your genetic coding, it's written in your energetic blueprint that your soul chose to have this exact situation to be born into so that you could transmute it into your gifts. And I'm not saying that every horrible thing that happens on this planet or to you personally was written in the stars, or that had to happen, because of course free will exists on this planet. But I am saying that it is 100% up to you to remove your victim consciousness and to transmute your shadows into your gifts. And so we are transmuting our shadows into our gifts. We're using this deep alchemical process, and that is how you're going to make that permanent leap into the higher chakras, the reawakening of the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is also the home of alchemy. It's the home of creativity, alchemy, metamorphosis, transformation. And this is what the 2027 three-part awakening is all about. It is truly the reawakening of the solar plexus center. So if you are looking for a place to dive deep into this and understand this more, get the book, The Gene Keys. It's also an audiobook on Spotify, which is a really, I mean, I love the woman who narrates it is this older British woman, and oh, I just love her voice. And every time I'm driving in my car, I just play a new gene key. I do it like an oracle, you know, I'll just scroll through and kind of click one, and then that's always exactly what I need to know in that moment. Or recently, I've been listening to it straight through from the 46th gene key into now I'm at the 57th gene key. This has been like the last week I've been listening to it, because it is part of my life purpose to take this information, understand it, and reformulate it and present it to you in a way that's going to help you navigate these energy updates, this crazy time to be alive, whatever's going on in this current moment, so that you can, you know, continue on your own path, on your own hero's journey. And so it is a part of my own path to understand these ancient texts and teachings and restructure them in a way that's going to help move you along. So I'm a teacher of our spiritual evolutionary unfolding. And I have a podcast now. I'm double recording for the podcast right now. It's called 2027 Rhythmic Symphony Siddhic Consciousness. It's a mouthful, but I decided to name it that because that is the third part of the Threefold Awakening Sequence, according to the Gene Keys, which I believe, I feel it in my heart. I feel it in every cell in my being that these words are 100% true. This is exactly where we're going. And it makes sense based on other ancient texts and just downloads that I've received along my own journey, my own path, that by 2027, we will have this reawakening of the solar plexus. We will make this leap out of the lowest two chakras into a higher state of consciousness. We will move the dream into form. We will remember unity, oneness, and we will change the world from the inside out. And it's not exactly, you know, it seems like, oh, that's only a few years away. How the F is that going to happen based on the current state of the world? But we're in this massive exponential period of growth right now. And so I see my podcast and my teachings, I'm like, let's just make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I spend these next few years continuing on my own path, following what's lighting me up and sharing it and taking inspired creative action in the moment when I get that urge, when I get that inspiration, and share it with as many people as I can far and wide, it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy of us to make this leap, and for me to share more resources with you guys to continue to understand all of this on a really deep cellular level, so that you can learn how to live in energetic harmony with these planetary alignments. Work with the energy of Earth. Like, Earth is going through this awakening just as we are. Earth is impacted by these celestial alignments. The celestial alignments are guiding our story on Earth. And this is why, you know, some of the most successful people on the planet utilize astrology, because it is patterns. It's all patterns. It's not, you know, predictions, or I don't know. It's just, astrology is a study of patterns. And it bothers me. I mean, I don't actually give a shit when people say, oh, astrology is bullshit, it's not real. It's like, it's just another tool. It is a studying of patterns. And if you understand the patterns, and if you know what's coming up a few months out, a few years out, you can structure your life and live in alignment with the stars. And you can just move yourself forward in such a smooth and easy way and actually have a deep understanding of why you're feeling a certain way in that moment, which again, that's the home of the emotional solar plexus, not being a victim of your emotions, but using your emotions. Don't let your emotions use you. I just saw a question about book recommendations. I have a playlist on my TikTok called Books. That's a great place to start. You can dive into there. I have so many books that help you on your spiritual journey if you are an alchemist. And the alchemist is someone that understands their emotional wave, the full spectrum of being a human, and working with every single emotion that arises within you and understanding it at a really deep level where it's coming from. These emotions are stirring inside of you. Is it because of a shadow that exists within you? Dive into that. Don't distract, don't numb, don't turn away from it. Don't try to just keep moving and hustling along and keeping up with the rat race of life. When your emotions arise, particularly the dark, heavy, deep, the grief, the sadness, the anger, dive deep into that. And this is where you start to transmute. You use it as fuel to propel yourself forward into your highest timeline. And then you integrate those experiences and you move forward with clarity and grace. And so there's the emotions that are going to arise within you based on situations in your life and your relationships that occur, and just, existing in your communities and going about life. And then there's the emotions that you feel based on planetary alignments that stir things up for you, which is all here to help you, stir everything up so that everything can kind of bubble to the surface and you actually begin to change your DNA. So this is what the 64 gene keys is all about. It's changing your DNA. It's activating your divine DNA. And I remember in learning in bio that we have all this junk DNA, and it just made me laugh. I'm like, why would we have junk DNA? That makes no sense. It's that according to the gene keys and many other spiritual teachings, we have this divine dormant DNA that is waiting to be activated. And then you actually change your body. You could heal disease and ailments, and you completely transmute and you heal your lineage pain, your ancestral pain, everything that is encoded within you, including the 64 shadow archetypes that exist within each and every one of us from the perspective of the gene keys, the human design system, and the I Ching. We have these 64 archetypes, 64 shadows, and then 64 gifts and 64 cities. And that's all within your hologenetic profile, and it's within your aura. It's within all the subtle layers of your aura, and it's within your physical DNA. So we're changing our physical DNA, and you're activating your physical DNA. And once you start to do this, it's like dominoes. It's like you just get so much pranic energy. Your vessel completely opens up. You start to raise your consciousness. The world around you starts to change. You open up your vessel to be a vessel of light codes, higher states of consciousness raining down, pouring down into your vessel. You activate your intuition. You activate your supernatural abilities. You just have this strong inner knowing, clairaudience, clairvoyance. You start to activate all of these things that other people would consider to be magical or supernatural. And now you receive more pranic energy, and you have the force of the entire universe behind you. So as you transmute these shadows, you get the force of the entire universe behind you, because now you're living in alignment with your gifts, and you're born to impart your gifts onto the world. Every single one of us have different gifts. We have unique gifts that are exactly your gifts that the world needs, your community needs, your family needs. And it's up to you to ignite your gifts and impart them onto the world. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Definitely read the gene keys, listen to the gene keys, check out the section on my TikTok called Books if you want some more books to read. And someone told me to find Jesus Christ if you want to see the powers and wonders of the new age to come. I love Jesus. I think Jesus is such a, I think Jesus is an embodiment and a representation of what it's like to completely transmute collective shadow consciousness into gift consciousness and into siddhi consciousness. Jesus Christ is someone who reached siddhic level while he was still incarnated on earth. And few people have done this in history, but Jesus Christ is someone who reached siddhic consciousness while he was still living on earth. And I am not religious, but I've studied all the religions. I was a history major. I've studied all these ancient texts, all of the greatest ancient teachings on the planet, including the Bible, including Christianity. And I have a big problem with them. I have a big issue with religion because they formulate it and structure it that God is something outside of you. It's mostly likely a male figure with, male pronouns that exists outside of you, and that we have to strive to live in devotion. And it's essentially just worshiping something outside of you. And that is just the opposite of the life of an alchemist, which is understanding that you are God. God is you. God is me. We are all one. In Lakecha Lakin, it means I am the other you. And this is the true teachings of Jesus Christ. And these are the teachings of Mary Magdalene. And in 1987, which I spoke about in the beginning as the Harmonic Convergence, 1987 is where I'll go over it again if someone was joining us late. So 1987, there was a supernova in a neighboring galaxy, which created unprecedented celestial alignments, which permanently altered humans' brain chemistry on Earth, allowing them to perceive the unifying truth of all the greatest teachings of the ages. It's the age of synthesis. In 1987, we got the human design system. We got that was channeled by a man named Ra Uru Hu. And in 1987, this is where the 7 Powers of Mary Magdalene was finally published and widely disseminated. So the 7 Powers of Mary Magdalene, it's believed that thousands of years ago, Mary Magdalene existed, and she was also able to reach Siddhic consciousness, just like Jesus Christ was. Reach Siddhic consciousness while still incarnated in her physical body, still on earth. So she raised her shadows into her gifts into Siddhic consciousness. And she wrote out the 7 powers of Mary Magdalene. And it was a codex that was ordered to be destroyed by the Roman Empire. And someone took a copy of this codex and they hid it inside of a vase in Egypt, which it was discovered then in 1936 by I want to say a man from Berlin who was like a millionaire on an expedition. He found it, and then it was going to be translated. It was in Coptic, so it was going to be translated. But then all of a sudden, World War II broke out, and something happened with this codex. It was kept hidden. And then it wasn't found and translated until 1987. Then Mary Magdalene's 7 powers were translated and then disseminated. And now we get the true teachings of Jesus Christ outside of Christianity. It's essentially called the Christianity we haven't tried yet. It's what Jesus really meant. It's about finding the God within. And you can read all about that. Now it's been disseminated, but there are